So the first one I wanted to talk about was the actual review using technology in the day-to-day review and negotiation of contracts. And in particular, we see a lot of what we would consider to be routine, high volume, relatively low risk documents. We work with a lot of financial institutions, and I think the work there, these are things like release letters, engagement letters, non-disclosure agreements, that kind of thing. They seem to have ballooned recently, which is extraordinary. I think the number of deals getting done, or at least looked at, is extremely high. And part of our software is designed to deal with that. I don't know, maybe Lowry, first and foremost, how do you think about that, or what are you guys using currently?
So I think for me, the point on that to do with pains is really the accessibility to tech for a mid-market corporate business, because without that kind of volume that you get in the Magic Circle, Silver Circle firms, the ratio, the cost versus investment benefit is difficult to justify to begin with. So getting on that ladder of being able to actually utilize it when you don't have massive volumes was a big pain for me, to try and figure out how could we use this tech when the reality of our transaction base is not the same as Clifford Chance or etc. So how are we going to make that work? Because this tech seems like it's only really accessible for people with that kind of demand. And so we started a journey where we looked at a few different things, and we adopted this sort of progress over perfection kind of mentality, and looked at sort of more short-term contracts, products that weren't, absolutely perfect, that did the job, that were easy to use, so that we could get the people using them. And so we have got a product at the moment that does an AI review of contracts, which we haven't had before, and which had a slightly different cost base or way of charging us, which meant it was more affordable to us. So, and I think, to be honest, more time passes, the more I'm seeing there's more accessibility to things like that. So I think that there was a high concentration of the tech solutions being delivered for the larger firms. I think now the mid-market are coming into play, and there will be more solutions for people with a similar sort of base, client base. Yeah, so that was one of the big pains. The gain is that we're using something, we're actually having a go, and we're saving time, and it's making us more efficient using what we do have. Even if it isn't absolutely perfect, we are teaching the people in our team how to use it, and there's lots of things like that is beneficial, regardless of the fact that it might not be absolutely the best solution right now.
And I'll come back in a second on a slight paradox that we've kind of found with talking to some law firms and technology. But maybe, Radhika, do you want to give your view? How are you, or rather, what are you using, if anything? What would you like to be using in terms of technology to help you with your, just your day-to-day document negotiation, reviews, that kind of thing?
So I mean, high volume, low risk contracts is obviously just extremely time consuming, and it can be so inefficient if you don't have the right use of technology. Whether it be something as simple as just using Outlook and going back and forth on documents, or SharePoint, or a particular AI tool, at the end of the day, I think all everyone is trying to do is increase efficiency and reduce the time as much as possible on these types of documents. So the way we approach this is we have a lot of collaboration tools internally at the business that we use in case we need quick answers to quick questions as we go through these types of high volume, low risk contracts, of which I would hope there's not too many questions. But to the extent that they are, and the types of documents I'm thinking here are NDAs, we use a combination of technology and sort of the right team that's purely focused and specialized for us to help us out on these high volume documents. So for us, it's mostly NDAs, and we have a specialist team who focus on NDAs for us. So I think that's more or less how we manage it. This is on one side of the spectrum, though, on high volume, low risk contracts. On the complete other side, I have to note, for the for our M&A deal team, for example, where they're doing strategically complex contracts, it's entirely different, and their use of technology is, for example, virtual reality. They've created.
So this you have to tell us about, because I really want to know how this works.
I'll do a little bit
Briefly,
of a sidestep
but I
into
do want to know.
this. But so they use Oculus Quest headsets, and they've created in this virtual reality rooms, virtual reality deal rooms, and that allows them to sort of have private spaces for large teams to manage their complex deals, to have document sharing live in this highly immersive environment. Just as you would have done in a physical room, they hold their meetings in these rooms, which again feels incredibly immersive, and you've got a seat around the table and you have a face-to-face engagement through your avatar, or now there's tools in there where you're sort of physically actually present in the room with the video as well. So I think.
And can you actually live like negotiate the document? Can you make the change?
Yeah, you can mark it up right in front of you. You've got a screen that everyone looks at. And we also hold, or they've also held a number of training sessions in there. They also hold mock trials for our litigation team. They also have innovation workshops. So we run yearly hackathons, which I think a lot of companies do, but we run hackathons with big prize money behind it for coming up with the most innovative way of doing your day-to-day aspects, whether that be pricing tools, whether that be contract negotiation, whether that be collaboration. So completely different sides of the spectrum.
A real smorgasbord. That's extraordinary. So maybe just to return very briefly, Laura, then we'll move on to the kind of paradox that I mentioned earlier. So one thing that, and I don't know whether this is more myth than reality, but kind of a consideration that we've heard from some law firms when we've spoken to them is law firms tend to bill their clients hourly, right? And I guess one of the key benefits, I guess, of good legal technology products is that it should, in theory, be a time saver. So have you thought about that? How do you kind of square that? If in theory you have legal technology which actually reduces the amount of time that you guys take to do stuff, how do you kind of square that with your client billings?
So we've been on we're on a bit of a journey with that mindset change. I think at the beginning, when we started looking at products like using HiQ and the sort of collaboration tools on that, and using that for due diligence to speed things up, it kind of made us more relevant and increased our accelerated our growth in the kinds of deals that we were doing at the kind of sectors we were working in. And then we kind of got to a point where we were winning pitches because of our approach to efficiency and tech. And that kind of bedded in a bit. And then I get to the point where I'm thinking, well, actually, we can't be giving, it's not right that we need to illustrate an ROI so return on our investment in some way, because we have invested a lot of time, like my time, for example, that's investment time, or time of other people in my team. How can we make money back on that? And so the concept of the chargeable hour versus a fixed fee or something becomes a lot more relevant. With fixed fees work, you can be more confident when you've established the tech rollout, how well you can manage it. And I've got examples of matters that I've been able to be very successful with a fixed fee and come in quite a lot less. And I don't feel like that's cheating the client out of money, because the reality is that job was worth that amount of money. It's just that we've already paid for a lot of the time invested in it beforehand. So I think ongoing, there are conversations to be had about packaging these products in different ways to achieve sort of more of equilibrium between what the clients want and what the law firm wants. But in my mind, things like when we have an automated package for a client that's with bespoke documents linked to, say, a portal that they use in-house, why can't we charge a fee for that? That's not based on time spent, that's just a renewal fee or something like that, that reflect, as long as it reflects what they need and they want, then there's value there. And I don't see why it should all be based on a chargeable hour. I think we just need to move away. Well, I think we need to think about different ways. Obviously, there's lots of things where the chargeable hour does work, and there's lots of things where fixed fees don't work, or maybe it's just a combination, a combination. So that's the journey that we've been going through at the moment.